Do as I say, not as I do. The failure of religious institutions at following their own strictures. An introduction to religious hypocrisy. The Presbyterian Church in America and Presbyterian Church USA are the focuses of this paper. In it, many examples are used to prove that religious institutions, especially those of the Presbyterian Church denomination, are utterly failing at living the rules that they are preaching to their followers, namely acceptance and equality for all. The acceptance of Korean immigrants into PCUSA. Reverend Christian Ko Choi, Westminster Presbyterian Church, Springfield, Illinois. Reverend Choi is Associate Pastor for Parish Life. Notice that even today, a Korean Presbyterian in a non-Korean church is only Associate Pastor. Every other staff member is a white male or female until the custodial staff is reached, and only then do you find a non-white staff member. As far back as the 1960s, despite intense overseas proselytizing, Korean immigrants were not welcomed into American churches and were forced to create their own denomination. The treatment of African American in churches. At the invitation of church officials, the Ku Klux Klan proudly attended a church service in Portland, Oregon in 1922. This discrimination forced African Americans to create their own denomination, which is today recognized as AME Zion. Today, AME Zion is still singled out for hatred, as proven by Charleston shooter Dylan Roof. The treatment of women in PCA, Presbyterian Church in America. We affirm the full dignity of men and women as created in the image of God. Genesis 1:26-28, New International Version. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them, male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground." We also humbly and happily embrace Scripture's clear teaching that the eldership is to be composed of qualified men. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 12. "I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet." From the Presbyterian Church in America, Book of Church Order. "To the office of deacon, which is spiritual in nature, shall be chosen men of spiritual character, honest repute, exemplary lives, brotherly spirit, warm sympathies, and sound judgment." The PCA Book of Church Order goes so far as to quote clothing and hairstyle rules for women. 1 Timothy 2nd chapter, verses 9 and 10. "I also want the women to dress modestly, with decency and propriety, adorning themselves not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes, but with good deeds appropriate for women who profess to worship God." The Christian Echo Chamber. With the lack of diversity in today's churches, a congregation can only reflect back images of itself, skewing the viewpoint and refusing to consider or acknowledge the differences of people who don't look like the majority. In conclusion, organized religion as a social institution has a lot of work remaining if they want to live up to the same codes of behavior that they preach to everyone else, and if they want the people they are trying to help to believe in those codes. Because as it stands right now, the main behavior that religion is teaching is hypocrisy. References to follow.